Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. On behalf of IPC management, I would welcome everyone at a short notice for coming for this program to honor Honorable Minister NAVDEEP BAINS, Minister of Science and Economic Development, Innovation, Science and Economic Development. So once again, thank you for all being here today with us. The agenda of this program is, inshallah, Imam Nafis will start with the Qiraat, an explanation of the Qiraat, and after that, President will address for about, a President of IPC Jame Masjid will address for about 2 minutes or so, and then, inshallah, we'll allow our chief guest to speak after that. So, and after that, there will be a brief session of about 5 to 7 minutes for question and answers, and we would like the questions to be written before and pass it on to us, inshallah, and then we can forward it to our guest. So, about 5 questions or so. And then, he has a prior commitment, so he has to leave in half an hour maximum. So we would like to, again, thank you for your time, valuable time with us today. And inshallah, we'll start the program. I would request Imam Nafis to recite the few verses of Quran and explain that in English as well.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. May the peace and mercy of Allah be upon all of you. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين. I seek refuge of Allah from Satan the accursed. In the name of Allah, the most gracious, the most merciful. All praises and thanks belongs to Allah, the Lord of the universe, the most gracious and the most merciful, the only owner of the day of resurrection. O Allah, you alone we worship, and you alone we ask for help. Guide us to the straight path, the way of those on whom you have bestowed your grace, and not the way of those who earned your anger. Ameen.
Jazakallah, Imam Nafis. Let me briefly explain our guest that, as being a non-profit organization, we have 8 board of directors. And let me introduce you to who are present here. I believe 3 are away. So the president is sitting next to you, President Basir Muhammad. And then we have a trustee sitting next to the president, Hamish Sheikh. And then another trustee, Anwar Beg. And our main imam, Imam Nafis. And we have a second imam, Hafiz Abdul Qayyum there. And he's the treasurer of the organization. And as you know, I'm secretary, Minister of Finance. And I'm the secretary of the organization. Right. And we hold elections every 2 years, and people rotate. Or we actually rotate people. So people who are sitting there, you can see it next time. They will be sitting here. So that's how we rotate among our members here. Now, I would request our president, Basir Muhammad, to address for 2 minutes or so.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Respected Imam, Honorable Minister, NAVDEEP BAINS Innovation, Science and Economics Development, IPC Management, Board of Trustees, IPC member, and also guest. Thank you all coming and being part of this function. As you are aware, IPC started in 1974 in the basement of one of our founding members. During the last 40 years, this has grown as a vibrant center of Muslim community to cater to community increased demand. We are in the process of expanding our facility, and the expansion project is the final stages of completion. We have been actively participating in charity projects, locally as well as internationally recently. We have actively participated in government's effort in relief operation in places such as Nepal earthquake, drought in Africa, floods in India and Pakistan. We also support hospitals and other charities at national and provincial level. IPC collects and distributes funds for the hospital in our communities such as Trillium, Credit Valley, and William Ulcer in Brampton. We appreciate our Prime Minister's efforts in bringing in 25,000 Syrian refugees. We have actively participated in settled Syrian refugees in our community by providing more than 2,000 meals and also by providing basic household needs for more than 100 families. We appreciate federal government commitment made before election and are more than willing to help the government in implementing its promises. As the Minister responsible for economic development, we are request Mr. Bain to take initiative to help visible minority communities in their efforts to grow and share in the national economic development by providing all necessary help in these communities' economic activities. Our holy month of Ramadan commences in the first week of June 2016. Through the Minister, we extend our invitation to the Honorable Prime Minister to participate in Eid celebration in the first week of July 2016 to celebrate at Hershey's Center, where we expected around 8,000 to 10,000 people at one time. Thank you, and all blessing to all. Jazakallah, assalamu alaikum.
Now I would request President to present a bouquet to our chief guest. Before I call our chief guest to speak, let me give you a brief introduction about him. He actually doesn't need introduction. He's been connected to our community for a long time. We all know him from since 2005 when you started taking initiative to run for this riding, Mississauga, Brampton South. And he's been elected Member of Parliament since 2005 till 2011 and again re-elected in 2015. And he actually, when he got first time elected, he was the youngest Member of Parliament for Liberal Party in Canada at that time. Has experience in different committees. He sat in different committees. He's been very humble, and whenever we have any requirement, when we reach out to him, he responds immediately, and we look forward for the same commitment for the years to come. And we want to build on that strong relationship, and again, keeping that same faith. Our Prime Minister Justin Trudeau has appointed him Minister of Science, Innovation and Economic Development. So I request our Honorable Minister to speak to the gathering.
So, Assalamu alaikum. It is an absolute honor and privilege to be here this afternoon. I've had the opportunity to be here on many, many occasions. I usually stand outside where I meet the congregation after the prayer services, where I usually talk about, the Liberal Party platform or talk about why I'm running. So it's very nice to be here after the election to come and say thank you. Thank you very, very much for your support, for your guidance, for your honesty. Thank you very much for being there, not only for me, but for your community, for the Liberal Party, of course, and for Canada. And I'm absolutely honored and delighted to see how beautiful the new mosque looks. I know we're 90% there. And I hope the last 10% we can finish it off so we can celebrate Ramadan in the new mosque. So that is the hope. So a polite reminder on behalf of the management team who's been very kind to me, please continue to donate. Please continue to contribute to a beautiful building, which really creates a sense of community. And this is what we're here to talk about today. And this is what my remarks will be about today, the importance of community. You represent a vibrant community, a community that I'm absolutely honored to represent in Ottawa. I say with pride, yes, it's a big, big honor to be a minister, but even bigger is to represent the riding of Mississauga-Malton. What a beautiful riding, what a diverse riding, in a community that cares so much about each other. And I grew up here. This is where I'm raising my two girls, Nanki and Kirpa. This is home. And that's the number one obligation I have, is to represent my constituents. And I come here as often as possible, regardless of how much I have to travel, to be in my office. And we have a splendid team in our office who serve in multiple languages. So we're there to serve in English, of course, in French. And then Urdu, Hindi, Punjabi, other languages as well, to serve this really diverse community. Our website is officially being launched tomorrow. And again, it's a very interactive website to engage people online. Many of you work, many of you are busy. Sometimes you have a quick question, a quick email, you need a quick response. We're going to have a very interactive website as well. The idea is that you have sent me to Ottawa to be your voice. And I take that responsibility very, very seriously. I sit there in the House of Commons representing the voice of Mississauga, Malta, not the other way around. I am not here to tell you what Ottawa says. I am here to be your voice, and that is a big, big honor and privilege. So thank you very much for that support. It means a lot. As mentioned in the remarks, I also want to thank you for your help with the Syrian refugees. This was truly a national endeavor. This was a Canadian project. Doesn't matter who you were, where you're from, if you're from the business community, the non-for-profit community, if you're provincial level of government, municipal level of government, everyone came together. Every single Canadian came together for this national endeavor. It speaks to who we are. We're an open, inclusive, loving, compassionate people. And we understand the world can be a very cruel place. But Canada is that beacon of hope. We represent that hope to the world. You know, when I was accompanying the Prime Minister to the United States state dinner, that is the message that Americans told me. When I was in Switzerland as part of the Davos team, that's what the world was telling us. When I was in Vancouver at the Globe Summit talking about the environment, that's what people were telling us. Every time I would talk to a business person, and my background is in business, I have an economic portfolio. But the first thing they would say is, it's amazing how much you opened up your arms, how welcoming you were. It really put Canada back on the map as a country that is not only multicultural, not only diverse, but truly compassionate, regardless of where you're from. So that is why it was a national project, and everyone came together. And 25,000 was the target, but I can tell you, when you're ambitious and you're compassionate and you're loving and caring, we will exceed that target by a big, big number. And that speaks to your generosity. That speaks to your commitment. That speaks to all the meals you prepared, all the money that you raised. So thank you very, very much on behalf of the Prime Minister, the Right Honourable Justin Trudeau. Thank you very much on behalf of the Government of Canada. And we really appreciate your support and look forward to working with you on projects like that that bring people together. And that's very important because I can tell you that's what the campaign was about. The campaign was two clear visions for this country. On one hand, you had the politics of fear, division, pitting one person against the other. On the other hand, the politics of compassion, of unity. It was very, very clear that the politics of hope won out over the politics of fear. And that is a very important message. Because I can tell you, growing up in Canada, I too face similar challenges. People talk about Islamophobia today, but when I was a teenager, and I've shared this story before, I remember I was in high school, relatively young, I had my patka, I would play sports, I wanted to wear a turban, I wanted to wear a dastar, and this young fellow wanted to join the RCMP. His name is Baldev Singh Dhillon. And there was a massive outcry. People said, no way. There's no way. This guy will change the identity of the RCMP, will undermine our social fabric. How dare he do that? Legions organized from coast to coast to coast. And guess what? Common sense prevailed. Our Charter of Rights and Freedom prevailed. The rule of law prevailed. And people understood you cannot undermine one's identity just because you think it undermines a social fabric of an institution. Freedom of religion, freedom of assembly, freedom of thought. This is why so many of you have come here. This is why my father came here. $5, $5 ਸੀ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਜੇਬ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਹੀ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਪਤਾ ਹੀ ਕਹਾਣੀਆਂ ਦੀਆਂ ਤੁਹਾਡੀਆਂ ਵੀ ਘਰ ਘਰ ਦੀ ਕਹਾਣੀ ਹੈ ਜੀ $5 ਸੀ ਜੇਬ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਰਾਜਸਥਾਨ ਤੋਂ ਆਏ ਛੋਟਾ ਪਿੰਡ ਗਰੀਬ ਘਰੋਂ ਆਏ ਲੋਕ ਹੱਸਦੇ ਸੀਗੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕੈਨੇਡਾ ਚੱਲੇ $5 ਲੈ ਕੇ ਇਹ ਕੀ ਕਰਨ ਲੱਗੇ ਹੋ ਤੁਸੀਂ But no, he believed in Canada. He believed in the potential of this country. Came here, worked 2, 3, even 4 jobs. ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਪਤਾ ਹੈ ਕਿਰਤ ਕਮਾਈ ਦਾ. You work hard. ਆ ਮਸਜਿਦ ਆਪਣੇ ਆਪ ਨਹੀਂ ਬਣਿਆ ਜੀ. ਜਿਹੜੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਘਰ ਖਰੀਦੇ ਹੋ ਆਪਣੇ ਆਪ ਨਹੀਂ ਖਰੀਦ ਹੋਏ. ਤੁਸੀਂ ਦਿਨ ਰਾਤ ਕੰਮ ਕੀਤਾ ਜੀ. You bet on Canada. Like many, many immigrants before you. And that is why Canada is a success. And we must never forget that. That's why the politics of fear should never prevail. Because it undermines who we are as a country. It undermines our social fabric. And that is why it's so important going forward, if they attack the niqab or the distar or the kippah, doesn't matter what faith they attack, we have a collective responsibility to stand up and say, no, we are one people, we love our country, and we want to build a better future for our children. If you look at it, that is what politics is about, ji. My father came here, din raat kaam kita. ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਇੱਕੋ ਹੀ ਆਸ ਸੀ ਕਿ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਮੇਰਾ ਬੱਚਾ ਹੈਗਾ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਥੋੜ੍ਹਾ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਤਰੱਕੀ ਕਰੇ. That my child hopefully would have a slightly better future than I will. That he will not face the same obstacles or challenges. That he will live in a clean environment where he has healthcare, a good education, and lives in a safe community. Very basic, fundamental, universal ideas that any parent would have. I have the same hopes for my girls. I want them to get a good job. ਇੱਥੇ ਮੈਂ ਅੱਜ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਮਿਲਦਾ ਸੀ, ਮੈਨੂੰ 5 ਬੰਦੇ ਮਿਲੇ ਬੱਚਿਆਂ ਦੇ ਕੰਮਾਂ ਕਾਰਾਂ ਬਾਰੇ ਕਿ ਮੇਰੇ ਬੱਚੇ ਅਗਾਂਹ ਕੰਮ ਕਰਨਾ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੇ ਆ, ਤੁਸੀਂ ਮਦਦ ਕਰ ਸਕਦੇ ਆ. That's exactly what it's about. That's exactly why we're in politics. We're not in politics for ourselves. Paramatma di kirpa, I had a good job. I worked at Ford Motor Company. It wasn't the job. It wasn't the paycheck. But it was about building a better future. And that is what motivates me every single day. When I wake up, the Prime Minister has given me a senior economic portfolio. Innovation is going to be the key to our success. We are a country of 35 million people. We're a relatively small country. How are we going to succeed in this new global race where economic growth is tepid, where the financial markets are a bit volatile, where we're dealing with climate change? Where does Canada fit? What kind of opportunities are we going to create for our children? ਸਾਡੇ ਬੱਚੇ ਇੱਥੇ ਜਾਂਦੇ, ਇੰਨੀਆਂ ਫੀਸਾਂ ਦਿੰਦੇ, ਇੰਨੇ ਪੜ੍ਹਦੇ ਆ, ਕਾਲਜ ਜਾਂਦੇ, ਯੂਨੀਵਰਸਿਟੀ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਆ. But if they don't have a job, then we're in trouble. So my number one priority, ladies and gentlemen, and I say this time and time again, is to create an environment for businesses and people to succeed. And innovation is going to be key. We have to challenge the status quo. We have to think outside the box. We have to embrace technology. We have to embrace change. ਸਾਡੇ ਬੱਚੇ ਸਾਡੇ ਤੋਂ already ਬਹੁਤ ਅੱਗੇ ਆ. They learn more after school online than we have ever learned in our classrooms. The world has changed. We can either run or hide or put them in a corner, or we can embrace it and say, no, we take up this challenge. We're going to make sure that we provide them with the good values of hard work that I talked about my father. Teach them to respect their neighbors. Teach them to understand and practice their faith to the best of their ability. Those core values transcend any technology. So we cannot be scared of technology. That isn't the issue. Innovation isn't the issue. It's being found the foundation of good values. And I'm confident that that is why this community has so much potential. Because when I go to the doors, we talk about values. We talk about Canadian values. We talk about being a thoughtful people, a respectful people, an inclusive people. So make no mistake, our number one priority for the government is to continue to grow the economy. We made major investments in infrastructure and helping the middle class. We spent $4.6 billion in this budget alone for innovation, from broadband connectivity to the Canadian Space Agency, to investing in universities and colleges to create clusters and incubators and accelerators so we can have companies that not only succeed here in Canada, but are part of global supply chains. So when our children go out there for a job, they have enormous potential. We've invested significantly into post-secondary institutions, $2 billion. I go around the country to making sure that our colleges and universities have the resources they need to help our children and to attract the best and brightest from around the world. Why can't Canada be the number one place for entrepreneurship? Why can't Canada be the number one place in the world for science? That is the same ambition we need. That's the ambition my dad had. With $5, he said I was going to succeed in Canada, and people laughed at him. Why is it a country of 35 million people we can't be better than other countries? We can, and we will. So that is what I'm doing. I'm working very hard for our community to be a voice for you in Ottawa, to promote the politics of unity and promoting all Canadian success. But more importantly, we are fighting for the next generation. That is my number one priority, and that is a commitment I will make to you. Every single day, we will make sure that we leave a better future for our children and grandchildren. So thank you very much for this opportunity. It is an honor to be here, and I look forward to working with you for many years to come. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your kind words. And as you can see, he's a visionary man. And well, I forgot to mention that he also taught at Ryerson University for some time. So he has clear vision, and he is a guiding factor for our Prime Minister Justin Trudeau as well. So we wish you all the best, and you're most welcome to come back as many as times to this facility. This is in your riding, and I would request our President now to felicitate you on behalf of IPC of Ontario for your excellent work for the community. And I request Imam Nafiz also to be part of that. Before I open the floor for a few questions, as we announced, as I was told that Minister has to leave very soon, and inshallah we have refreshments for our Minister as well as for everyone here. So we would like also you to share with us for a few minutes there. And as the President addressed that, once this facility opens, we will have facility to accommodate 3,000 people at the time. So I'm just for your information. And we are working hard with city officials as well as the mayor to open this facility in the month of Ramadan, but we have certain hurdles which we are working on it right now. Great. I appreciate that. We appreciate on behalf of IPC. At the same time, we will come back to you again once the facility is complete. Whatever funds you have for the Mississauga, Malton area, for the youth development, we will definitely come to you as well for that. Thank you so much. Now we'll open the floor for questions for about 5 questions, and please limit your question.
Thank you very much. Both very important questions. I'll start with question number 1, affirmative action. So the Prime Minister, as you know, genuinely believes in diversity as a core Canadian value. We believe in that it's the best way to make decisions, that it's not simply about looking different. It's diversity of thought, diversity of perspectives that allows you to make better decisions. And if you look at it on climate change, for example, the Prime Minister took a very big delegation to Paris, took opposition leaders, took different levels of government, took our Aboriginal leadership, took NGOs. He said, look, I want all that diversity reflected because this is an important initiative. This is a moral imperative for our country that we deal with climate change. It is a legacy that we're going to leave our children and grandchildren, and we all have a collective responsibility. So that idea of diversity is important, but also diversity included in the decision-making process. I think that's what you were alluding to. It's not simply a target with a number of people or what they look like, but are they legitimately in the decision-making process? Are they at the table where decisions are being made? So diversity and then inclusion in decision making, I think, are two interlinked that I think we need to understand and appreciate. So the Prime Minister has made it very clear to start this off. All appointments that we will be making, the government and council appointments, will reflect diversity and reflect gender lens. Similar to how he designed his cabinet. 50% were female, and there was diversity of backgrounds and perspectives in his cabinet as well. So that is how the government is going to lead by example. The boards that people sit on, the agencies that people will be appointed to, the different positions that will be held in the highest level of government will reflect that diversity. So we haven't set a quota, we haven't set a target, but we've made it absolutely mandatory that we need to really drive that agenda forward. And I think the Prime Minister has led by example on that very clearly. And we will see that reflected in the appointments coming forward. And the idea is that we start off in that direction and see how that works. And based on the results, we may need to reevaluate other techniques that we may need to deploy, other policy levers that we may need to deploy. Because ultimately what you're saying is that you want a diversity of thought, diversity of ideas reflected in the highest level of decision making, and that is a commitment of our government, and we're going to start to lead by example of the appointments that we make. With respects to the situation in Pakistan and the issues around visa applications for businesses and the processing time, I couldn't agree with you more. I represent Mississauga Malton, a very high population of Pakistani diaspora lives in my riding. I hear it, see it, and feel it every single day in my office. It's unacceptable that the processing time takes so long. We committed to in the campaign to increase the number of family reunification applications. We've done that. We've increased that number for parents and grandparents. We've also looked at spending more money on the processing time. So this will take some time. You should see some improvements in the next 6 to 8 months. You should see processing times go down, but the backlog is enormous. That's challenge one on, sponsoring of parents and family members. And on the business side of it as well, it is very bad prejudice. The bottom line is, there is this prejudice that exists in the system that we have to take out. We understand there's bad apples. I get that. We all get that. But that does not mean we miss out on the opportunities. Remember what I said before, if we want to be the global place for businesses and science and entrepreneurship, then we have to open up the doors. That's the only way we're going to compete. So we need the best and brightest from around the world. Doesn't matter if they're from Islamabad or Beijing or Delhi. We need to open. And there's challenges, in other jurisdictions. So I will say that Islamabad is a very good flashpoint of where there are challenges, but they exist in other jurisdictions. It's unacceptable. Chandigarh, same thing, major problem. I hear it, feel it, see it. There's a large Punjabi diaspora here as well. They're going through the same problems. So we're going to allocate more resources for processing, and we're going to try to improve the process. Because the idea is, tusi mere ko aajo, main ek nu visa dwa dena. I help one person. I may help 2 people. But what about the system? The goal is to fix the system. So I go to the Minister of Immigration all the time and say, don't give me the visa. I don't need the visa. I mean, it helps if I can help a constituent. So I do advocate for that. Don't make that mistake. But I say we need to improve the system. So we're going to allocate more money to immigration. We did so when it respects to in the budget on how to settle the refugees, but we also allocated more money for the immigration system, and that's to deal with processing times. But then we also need to educate. So when I go to Pakistan next time, or when I go to India or China at the end of June, I will be speaking to officials and saying, look, no, it doesn't work this way. You need to have an open mind. You need to give people the benefit of the doubt, not the other way around. And I think that cultural change is very important. Because we can have all the policies that say, it'll continue to persist in the system. And that is a challenge that we're dealing with. So again, this is what I tell you is a big honor for me, is to represent the voice of people from the riding on issues like this. And trust me, immigration is not simply a social issue. It's not simply about family. It's an economic issue. You go to Atlantic Canada, you know what the number one issue is in Atlantic Canada? PEI, New Brunswick, Nova Scotia, Newfoundland, Labrador. Not tourism, not infrastructure, immigration. I was in Yellowknife a couple of days. You know what the number one issue is? Immigration. I'm telling you, it is an economic issue for our success going forward. And if we continue to shut the doors on people, we are only hurting ourselves. So this is something that we have to push back with the bureaucracy. This is something we have to educate the public service, saying immigration is key to our economic prosperity. Because remember, that's the number one goal we have. How to grow the economy, create jobs, good quality jobs, so our children and grandchildren can have a better future. And immigration is going to be key to that. So thank you very, very much. I really appreciate it. There's a Vaisakhi Nagar Kirtan parade happening from Malton to Rexdale, so I apologize. I have to go to that. But thank you very much for your time. Much appreciated. Thank you, Wasim.
One question came from the sister side. There are quite a few sisters as well. But it's to me, it looks like more like a domestic issue, a neighbor's issue. So she said she has approached counselor as well as the police official. They're not listening to her. So if you can guide her, what steps she can take it. So that's a question.
Yeah, I mean, because it's a personal issue of that nature, I wouldn't speak on it in specific terms in public to respect the privacy of the individual. But please bring it to our office. I have a very good working relationship with Carolyn Parrish, who is a local councillor in Ward 5, George Carlson as well, and others, and of course the mayor, Mayor Crombie. We are giving $120 billion worth of infrastructure funding over the next 10 years. So I think we need to have a good working relationship. So if there's any issues I can advocate on behalf of my constituents, I will definitely do that. Thank you.
I would request our treasurer, Tawfiq Walam, to thank our chief guest for today's program.
Just they told me to put a portfolio there. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Bishrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wa ahlul uqdatam min lisani yafqahu qawli. Respected brothers, elders, on behalf of IPC management, Board of Trustees and all the members, I thank Minister of Innovation, Science and Economic Development, Mr. NAVDEEP BAINS, for your valuable times you spent with us here. And we hope to see Minister more often here in near future, and assure him that all the support we can extend to economic development in this great expectation. Thank you, appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you again for everyone. And Minister, I request you to please come with us for refreshments.
I don't say no to
That's it.